welcome to the Start and Succeed show. For those of you that haven't caught an episode of this podcast before, my name is Kelly Brammer, I'm your host, and I'm also the founder of the Start and Succeed business consultancy, helping people just like you to build, grow and scale profitable and sustainable businesses. Now today I want to talk to you about self-awareness, because over the last few weeks I've not actually put a new episode out, and I've been doing a lot of client work, so a lot of one-on-ones, and that has really taken my focus away from this podcast, but it's high time I got back on it. And the reason I want to talk about self-awareness today is because a lot of the work that I've been doing with my clients, a lot of it has been around some of the challenges and the struggles that they're seeing. And when we've actually delved into what the problem is, a lot of the time it's because they're not actually self-aware. So they think they know what's causing them a problem, but actually once we've got into the nooks and crannies of it, they're not actually aware of what it is that's causing the problem. It's something that roots very much deeper than that surface level problem or challenge that they've been seeing themselves. So I wanted to talk to you, as I say today, about self-awareness and how you can become a better leader through becoming better or more self-aware. And that isn't just a leader of running your own business. It might be that you are a leader of a team, that you work for somebody else and that you're managing a team, or it might be that you just want to be a better leader of your life. So, as I say, today is all about self-awareness. So, our lives, as you probably are more than well aware, they're becoming busier and busier each and every day, because there's more expectations that we are putting on ourselves and that other people might be putting on us. And it means that we can often feel as though we don't know why we're not progressing. We don't know what is holding us back because we're not self-aware, because we're so contained in all of this insight and information that we're taking in, and all of these extra responsibilities and expectations that are being put on us, either, as I say, by ourselves or by others. If we're not self-aware, we can easily forget just how important we are, both to ourselves and to others as well. And that results in a number of things. It can result in us misjudging situations. It can result in us making ineffective decisions and maybe even negative assumptions about things. And it also can result in us failing to see that somebody needs our support. And from our perspective, it can mean that we don't actually see that we need the support too. So this self-awareness, I will keep coming back to it, it is so important. So without having a level of self-awareness, without really truly understanding what is working for us and what isn't working for us, we're going to fail to develop personally, and we're going to struggle to actually achieve that greatness that we know deep down within ourselves that we can achieve. So self-awareness and awareness itself is a key part of all of our developments, and without it, we will never, as I say, truly know what is holding us back, and we'll not be able to uncover what's actually going to help us to move forward to become even better leaders. Now, self-awareness can be broken down kind of into two parts. One is internal and one is external. So from an internal perspective, this might be how clear we are about how we feel about ourselves, about how we're showing our emotions and reacting to things. It could be the internal chatter that's going off within our minds. It might be our visions and our passions and our dreams. And it might be as well the impact that we have on other people. And we may not know what that impact actually is. So from an external perspective, this is about what we perceive other people believe about us. And that might be personal, and it might be professional, or it might be both. It could be your relationships, it could be your stature, your wealth, your performance as a business leader, it could even be you as a parent. It's that perception that other people have of you. And that self-awareness, being aware of what other people think, is going to help you on your journey. So I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips to help improve your self-awareness throughout the course of this episode. And the reason I'm going to do that is, as I say, over the last few weeks, whilst I've not been recording these episodes and I've been working with one-on-one clients more, I've actually got to a point where I can really understand what's driven those people, those clients, to actually feel the way that they're feeling. And then what I've done is help them to overcome that so that they can move forward effectively. So I'm going to take those learnings and I'm going to share those tips with you so that you can improve your self-awareness. So the first one is, and it's really simple, it's really easy, but we often forget, and that's to make time for yourself. So carving out time on a regular basis to just tune into you, to understand how you are feeling, to maybe meditate, to journal even if you do that, or just to listen to some music and reflect and relax and enjoy just being. And that time is going to help you to think about how you're feeling, where you are on your journey, and actually to think about what's going off in your mind and actually what do you want to achieve? What are you aiming for? What is that vision? Now, another tip might be looking at understanding your triggers. Now, this is a biggie because we often forget what causes us to react in certain ways, and we sometimes may not even know until it happens. But if it only happens once, you may not realise, but if it happens again and again and again, they become your triggers. Now, your triggers, they can result in you acting upon decisions and reacting to situations and to things in a way that really doesn't support you or your teams if you have a team that you lead. So your emotions, they have a huge, huge impact. And that's on the way that you behave and the impact that you are having on other people. And you might not even realise it. As I've mentioned, you might not realise that something is a trigger. And that situation or that thing might happen. And you might respond to a situation, a challenging situation, in a very reactive way. And that could actually result in people feeling unhappy and possibly even hurt. Now, triggers aren't just situations. They're not just places. They can be people too. And that's something really to look out for, because what we think when we're looking to surround ourselves with people is that we're looking for positive people, people that support us. Sometimes some of those people that are closest to us can be our triggers. So understanding what triggers you have that make you feel or react in a certain way, both positively and negatively, they can really help to determine how you can approach these in a different way, or possibly even remove them. So I've mentioned in a previous episode, and I don't want to go into too much detail about it here because I don't want this episode to be too long. I like them to be short and sweet. But I know from having gone there quite often is that working from coffee shops doesn't work for me. That's a big trigger for me. And at the beginning, I did not see it. I would go, because I work for myself, I'd go and work from different coffee shops and different places, and it would be fine. I'd be getting some work done. But then as the day got busier, and maybe even children left school, had their lunch breaks, and that cafe, that coffee shop started to get busier, the coffee grinder, and the coffee machine started to get louder, and it would cause me to feel this anxiety inside. And I would have to just pack up what I was doing and leave. And as I say, I didn't know this at the beginning. It's only after a few times of it happening that I really actually thought about it and thought, well, if I just stopped that, if I didn't go to a coffee shop or to a cafe to work, I could cut that out completely. I didn't need to feel that way. I just needed to find somewhere else that allowed me to work and that gave me the ability to just concentrate and to focus without feeling that anxiousness inside. So I now work from a number of different places. At the moment, I'm working from my home office, which is where I'm doing this podcast episode from. But yes, I've identified that's a trigger for me. So really looking at your triggers, what's causing you to feel and react in certain ways is really going to help you. Another tip might be to be more present in the moment, and this especially now, especially in this post-pandemic world, as we're moving towards a post-pandemic world, being present in the moment is so important. And I know I mentioned things are important a lot, because they are. But being present in the moment with yourself, being present in the moment with other people, is such an important thing for your mindset and for your relationships. So being in the present moment, being in the here and in the now, like listening to this and reading a book, when you're taking time to actually focus and be present in what it is that you're doing, it allows you to not be distracted by other things. And it means you can be fully focused and aware of what you're actually doing, what you're saying, what you're consuming in terms of information. And it encourages and nurtures an atmosphere of trust and respect, especially with other people. Now, an example of this is if you're in a meeting and you are having a meeting with another team member or another person, whoever it is, and you're in that meeting and you're spending the majority of your time answering emails, or you're typing on your laptop, or you're on your phone. This gives off a feeling to that other person, to that team member, that you're not interested in what it is that they have to say, and that you don't respect their time or their opinion. Now, they may not know that what you're doing is actually related to that meeting if you're not communicating with them and you're not talking to them about what it is that you're doing, because you're taking yourself out of the situation. You're not being present with that team member. And a great example from a personal perspective for me is I look back to when my grandparents were alive, and I think that was a time when mobile phones hadn't long come out. I didn't have one as a teenager, and I'd used to, on a Saturday, I'd go and spend time with my grandparents, and we'd go shopping, we'd watch television, we'd play puzzles, and I'd have one of my friends with me generally. But I actually was focused. I was present in the moment with them, and I cherish that now because they're no longer around. But I know that I spent precious time with them. I was present in the moment with them, and that really helped me to have a great relationship with them. But for them to actually see that their granddaughter was really proud and willing to spend time with them, even though we didn't do anything mega exciting, I wasn't distracted by other things. I wasn't thinking, well, I don't want to be talking to my grandparents because, they're old. I want to be out with my friends doing this, that, and the other. I was carving out that time to be present in the moment with them, and it's something, as I say, that I will cherish forever. And I can't say in this day and age that many people do that. So I know my niece and my nephew, they, if they ever hear this, they probably wouldn't be happy, but they haven't spent the time with their grandparents. They haven't done that because they're so consumed with everything else. They're on Facebook, they're playing Fortnite, or just on their Xbox, or they're on YouTube. They're doing all of this other stuff, and they're not actually present in the moment with other people. They're so focused on these things that are not going to last forever, that are just a way of taking your mind off reality. And that means that my grandparents haven't had that quality time and that presence with their grandchildren because their grandchildren can't see it. And that's just my example, and I'm sure there's many of you out there that can see that with your family members, with your friends, maybe even with your own family. So this being present in the moment is super, super important. If you are constantly on your phone when you get home, or if you work from home and your partner comes in or your children come in, and you're constantly on your phone, you're not making time for them, they're not getting the time that they need from you, and you're not getting the time that you need for you and to spend with them to build those relationships. So be more present in the moment, both in life and in business. I honestly cannot suggest that any higher or recommend it any higher. So another tip is having an open-minded approach. And again, it's something that we don't really think about because we have our own beliefs, our own values, and that's great. It's great that we do have that, because if we all had the herd kind of thinking and we all thought the same, life would be very boring. But being open to new ways of thinking, of looking at new innovative ideas, listening to other people's opinions, and generally just being receptive to look at things from a different perspective, it can really enable you to release the need to control something and to control situations, because you're not being confined by your own beliefs and values. And it also helps you to learn and develop your skills and your knowledge, because you're listening to other things. You're not just letting your own conscious mind dictate what you feel and believe. You're listening to other perspectives and other things that can help you develop. But also, you're looking at new opportunities, because other people will have a different way of looking at something and might be able to suggest something that you could never ever have thought of. Another one might be to trust your gut instincts. Now, I say might be with a few of these because everybody is different. You know, one thing that works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So the tips that I'm sharing with you today, they're a collection from a varied number of clients, or varied clients with different backgrounds. And some things worked, some things didn't. So I've taken a range, because you might find that some things do work, some things might not. But they're going to help you just to listen to them and to determine whether or not it's something that you feel might help you. And you can always try it. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, not a problem. So the next tip is to trust your gut instinct. Now, again, this is important, as with all of them. Our emotions, they can be dictated by how we feel inside, so from a heart perspective, so heart-led emotions, and they can be led by our mindset. And our mindset can have a heavy influence on the way that we act, on the decisions that we make, and the things that we say. And sometimes it works in our favour, but also sometimes it doesn't. It can create heartache, it can create disappointment, and it can impact your relationship with other people. Now, your gut instincts, your intuition, on the other hand, it's generally always right. Now, all three work in tandem together. So you have your heart, your mind, and your intuition. And they work together so that you can have a balanced approach to things. But sometimes your mind can play tricks on you, and sometimes your heart can be blindsided because you love somebody, or you think you love somebody, and therefore that leads your emotions. Now, both of those, both your mind and your heart, they can negatively impact you, and they can impact your decision making. So your intuition, on the other hand, it can't be influenced, because that's what you really feel. Subconsciously, that's what your gut is telling you. But to listen to that and to go with it, you're going to have to be courageous. You're going to have to trust that what your intuition is telling you is right. Now, it's going to be scary. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone. It's going to put you smack bang in front of your fears. And that can put you off. It can stop you from making any progress. But you need to think, on the other side of that fear, on the other side of that comfort zone, there's a whole world of opportunity. But as I say, you have to be courageous. So when you're making decisions, when you're reacting to things, maybe just assess, is it your heart that's telling you to do that? Is it your mind? Is it your intuition? Or is it all three? And make a decision based upon that. It's all about being self-aware and just judging things based on you being aware of how you're feeling, what reactions you're having, and whether or not it's something that you're reacting to positively, or you're reacting to because you feel scared and you feel hurt, or you're worried about what's on the other side of fear. Now, another one, and there is a few, and I am aware that this episode has been going on a while, so I'll very quickly run through these last three. So another one is to set boundaries. Now, we all have our limits, we really do, and we sometimes struggle to set clear boundaries with others, and that means that we actually get pushed further than what we're happy with. So setting some clear boundaries, so essentially rules and guidelines for how we and you expect to be treated, about what you are and aren't willing to do. It's really important because it protects your well-being and it protects you from spending more time on things that you don't want to spend time on, or even engaging in things at all if you don't want to. Now, once you've got these boundaries set, once you've thought about it and thought about what boundaries you want to put in place, as I say, it's important to communicate them, because you can know all day long what your boundaries are, but if you haven't told others about that, if you haven't been really clear on why you've got those boundaries, what you are and aren't willing to do, people will continue to push you. So communicate effectively to other people exactly what your boundaries are. And this isn't just business, this is just your whole life. And doing that, it's going to allow other people, not just you, it's going to allow other people to know what you will and won't do, what you will and won't accept, but also it might make them think about what their boundaries are. Because you might find that you're going to inspire other people by doing it, because everybody's in the same boat. We all get pushed a little bit further than what we want to sometimes. So setting these boundaries and staying clear on those boundaries is going to help you to just monitor that and manage that more effectively. The second to last one is practice self-discipline. Now, self-discipline is essentially a series of habits that you form, and they support you in making positive changes in your life. So they might be what you eat, it might be a regular sleep pattern, it might be exercising on a regular basis, it might be the goals that you set and the dreams and aspirations that you have. And it might include actually working on understanding what your weaknesses are and what habits you actually need to form to aid your development. So if you know that you're doing something and that you're doing it consistently, that you're making progress, you know on the back of that you're going to grow, you're going to develop. And you need to do it regardless of whether or not you want to do it, because you know that if you do it, you're going to achieve amazing things. So if you're doing it in one area of your life, consider doing it in multiple areas, because you know if you are consistent, if you set the goal, if you're really dedicated and if you're really disciplined and form these habits, they're really going to help you to create more success, to be more consistent in what you're doing, and to feel a weight lifted off your shoulders because you're achieving so much, you're progressing so much. Now, the last one is being open to receiving feedback. And this is positive and this is also negative. Now, a lot of people go out of their way to avoid feedback, especially when they know the feedback that they're getting isn't going to be the best. Now, constructive feedback, it's again important. It helps you to understand what you can do better and what you're doing really well in. But we all know that feedback isn't always constructive. Some people just give you feedback to be negative. Other people don't want to admit that there are things that you could do better and therefore give you glowing feedback all of the time. But if you can get into the habit of requesting constructive feedback from people, it really enables you to maintain a pulse of how things are going. And it lets you think about what steps you need to take to either address any issues that you might be having or that other people think you might be having or what they're seeing. And it helps you to think about how you can tweak and change things so that you can develop further on your journey and to leverage the things that you're doing really well at so that you can continue to build upon that and create even more success. Now, as I've said, working on becoming more self-aware, it can benefit you in so many ways, but the most important thing is that it helps you to develop both personally and professionally, and it can really help you to see what's holding you back so that essentially you can get out of your own way and you can approach things differently to then get different results. Now, some benefits that you might have aside from this might be higher self-esteem. It might be having the ability to act with more clarity and with intent and with purpose. It might be making decisions and informed decisions easier and more effectively. And it also helps with gaining trust and credibility as a business leader. Now, as a business leader, if you run your own business or you want to run your own business, Having a positive impact on other people and being able to really understand your strengths and your weaknesses is super important, and I can't stress this enough. I know I've said important a lot, because for a lot of people, admitting what their weaknesses are is a huge challenge. Sometimes they're not even aware of them. But the single biggest thing that you can do as a business leader is to work on your self-awareness. So as I've mentioned throughout this episode, this helps you personally, but it also helps your relationship with others. And you never know who you're inspiring. So if people see you becoming more self-aware, they might then decide to do that for themselves. Self-awareness is self-development. Self-development is growth. And growth is success, however you deem success to be. Now, I am aware this episode has been longer than normal, but I wanted to make sure, I've been away for a few weeks, I wanted to make sure that what I shared with you today around self-awareness can really help you to think about how you can improve that for yourself. Because especially in this day and age, we have to continue to develop personally and professionally. There is so many people out there that we're doing similar or the same things as. We want to differentiate ourselves. We want to have the courage and determination to go out there, to be passionate about what we want to do, and to showcase to our audience, not to the whole world, because not the whole world is interested, but we want to showcase, and this is you, not just me, we want to showcase to our audience that we know what we're doing, that we can help other people, that we can add value, and that we're dedicated to developing ourselves. Because if we can develop ourselves, we sure as hell can develop other people. So thank you for listening to this episode today. It'd be really lovely of you if you could give me some feedback on this, whether or not certain things have worked, certain things haven't. So please feel free to drop me an email at kelly@startandsucceed.online. Now, I'll put that in the show notes for you. But I'd love to hear what's resonated with you, what hasn't. And I really hope these tips help you to become more self-aware and to help you on your journey. Now that's it for today. I'll be back again next week, so these will be restarting weekly. They'll be happening every single Thursday, and I'll be covering things from leadership, from business, personal development, and something that I'm really passionate about is mental health awareness. So I look forward to speaking to you again next week. I hope you have an amazing Thursday and the rest of the week. And as I say, if you have any questions, please get in touch.